All right, you guys, so this is going to be our first grammar video, and today we're going to talk about the parts of the sentence. Now just remember, the parts of the sentence are different than the parts of speech, okay? The parts of the sentence include the subject and the verb, but they also include different kinds of objects, all right? So let's think about it this way. We have a direct object. We have an indirect object. We're going to talk about predicate nominatives or predicate nouns and predicate adjectives too. We're also going to cover objects of the preposition. The reason this is in a cute little picture here is because a great way to identify these objects is to remember that they come with different types of verbs. So direct objects and indirect objects are always going to be in sentences with action verbs. And predicate nouns and predicate adjectives are always going to be in sentences with linking verbs. OPs, objects of the prepositions, can be with either of these types of verbs. Okay, so let's start with this sentence. She kicked the ball. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find the subject. She is the subject. Then we're going to find the verb and decide whether it's an action or a linking verb. I can kick something, it's something I can do, so I know it's an action verb. So you're going to find the subject, then you're going to find the verb, decide what kind of verb it is, and then you're going to ask the question, what? What got kicked? In this case, the ball got kicked, which means that the ball is the direct object. The direct object is what received the action of the verb. It is what got the verb. All right, now let's talk about the indirect object. We're going to follow the same process that we followed last time. What's the subject? What's the verb? I know that the verb is an action verb. It's something I can do. So then I'm going to ask the question, what? What was made? Okay. Cookies, right? The cookies were made, which means that the cookies represent the direct object. And then for the indirect object, I'm going to ask who instead of what. In this case, I'm going to say, who got the direct object? If I can answer that question, I know that I have an indirect object. Him. He got the cookies, which means that our indirect object is him. So let's review one more time. The indirect object receives the direct object. The direct object receives the verb. Okay, so notice that in the last two sentences, we had the verb kick and we had the verb made, or to make, right? Those are action verbs. So we also had direct objects and indirect objects in those sentences. Now let's look at a couple sentences that have a predicate adjective or a predicate noun. All right, let's start with the predicate adjective. So, a predicate adjective is an adjective that follows a linking verb and modifies the subject. So, it's an adjective that follows a linking verb and modifies, sorry, my handwriting is so bad with the stylist, modifies the subject, okay? So it's an adjective that follows a linking verb and modifies or describes the subject. Here's an example. She is happy. Okay, so in this case, she is the subject, is the verb, And happy is an adjective that follows the linking verb is and modifies the subject. So happy is the predicate adjective. All right, now let's try to find the predicate noun. So we're going to find the subject. Then we're going to find the verb. We recognize that it's a linking verb. And then we're going to look at the rest of the sentence. And we'll see here that we have a noun that follows the linking verb that renames the subject. I see this is sort of funny here. He is a player. Okay, well, you get the idea. Player is the predicate noun because it renames the subject, he, and it's a noun that follows the linking verb. So a predicate noun is a noun that comes after a linking verb and renames the subject. All right, you guys, so we covered the chart to help us remember direct objects, indirect objects, predicate nouns, and predicate adjectives. We know that a direct object comes with an action verb, and the direct object receives the action of the verb. We know that an indirect object gets the direct object. We now also know that the predicate noun comes after a linking verb and renames the subject. And we know that a predicate adjective comes after a linking verb and describes or modifies the subject. So you guys, after watching this video, if you still have questions, go back and replay it. Check out Grammar Bites, great website. Check out Grammar Girl, another great site. Use the resources of your classmates' wealth of knowledge right there. And ask me if you have any more questions.